All right, so if you look at this one thing I want you to kind of notice in the very beginning is we see a triangle here. And one thing that you want may now know is that a triangle is always equal to 180 degrees. All right, so to keep that in mind, we want to look at that for a second. So I know that all three of these angles have to equal 180 degrees. So I can look real quick and say, you know what, I know that's a right triangle because those two things make a line. So it has to have that part there. So to find what A is, I know that A plus 35 plus 90 has to equal 180. Now you definitely don't have to do it this form. I'm just kind of showing you this idea to get you set up. So I know that those together are 125, and I can subtract those. You definitely don't have to do this as an equation. And I know that A is going to equal 55 degrees. Right? So I know now that A is equal to 55 degrees. Matter of fact, let me move it over a little bit. I know A is equal to 55 because A, the 90 degree, and 35 are a triangle. Right? Looks like area. Make a triangle. And I know triangle is 180, 35. All right? Sorry. Wow. Or 180. All right? So that's just an explanation. So now I want to find what B and C are. All right. So I like to, and this is where I said like draw on your screen a little bit. I like to sit there and say, as soon as I know something, I want to write it in there because I see it in the picture. I can see it. So if I look at B, I know right now that those two things right here, A and B, have to make 180 because they make a line right here. So I can sit there and say, oh, now I can sit there and say, I can take 180 minus 55, and now I know it's going to be equal to 125 degrees. So I can say B is equal to 125 because A plus B equals 180. I could do the same thing with C over here. And I know that. I could take 180 minus 35, and now I have 145. And I know that C is 145 degrees. I forgot my degrees everywhere. And that's because C plus 35 is equal to 180. And so there's my answer there. A lot of work I can sit there and show. You can have an explanation. I don't need, like on a test, I don't necessarily need this stuff. This is something like, hey, I know you know it, you showed it on a whiteboard, etc. What's the idea of like the little explanation over here is enough. When I say show or explain, these are a good way to kind of show and explain. You're talking to me where it's coming from. I'm getting an idea. I don't necessarily need all those kind of start areas. That's something you can kind of have on your paper. If you want to write it down as your work, you can definitely do that instead. So there's a couple different ways you can kind of let show or explain, but that's one way you can do.